Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined by Denny Carter on this fine Tuesday. Now that the season's over, we can actually reveal what day the show is recorded. It is Tuesday. We are in the wake of the divisional round. We are getting ready for the conference championship round, which we will preview extensively on Thursday with myself, Denny, Kyle Dvorak, and special guest Richard Rebar.
All right.
I'm allowed to say that on the air. You may know him as Lord Reeves. But there's some news to touch on today. Kind of like a lot of buzzy, a lot of clicky topics, like Aaron Rodgers might get traded. The Ravens are interviewing people. How should they fit in with Lamar Jackson? Is Trevor Lawrence good? I mean, he's good, but we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence again. Talking about the Patriots hiring Bill O'Brien, their new old offensive coordinator, Denny. And what else are we talking about? That might be there's a special receiver that you want to talk about later. But first,
yes.
You had something you wanted to say, though, about, you talk about, so every playoffs, there's storylines that get a lot of mileage that have like a whole lot to do with absolutely nothing, basically. And one of them was the potential neutral site AFC championship game, which the Bengals are now acting like is like the only reason they even made the AFC championship game. The like disrespect from the league setting up this potential venue for Bills, Chiefs. But you have some thoughts too that maybe align a little bit with what the Bengals are thinking about the neutral site AFC championship game that never was.
I just when I saw that the game was sold out, the neutral site game was sold out like 4 or 5 days before the divisional round, I was just wondering, I didn't want to upset my Bills people on Twitter or anything, and I know that they're having a hard time. I get that. But it seemed very presumptuous to say, "Oh, I'm going to buy my tickets for the AFC Championship game because all we have to do is beat the Bengals." I thought it was a very evenly matched game. I think that the spread indicated that the Bills haven't played well in 2 months.
No, we talked a lot about that in our recap pod. How they had been winning, but they had not played well. Seriously,
it's been ugly. Yeah. It's been ugly. Josh Allen has not played well in 60 days at least. And that didn't change. He was bad again. The Bills' offense was bad again against the Bengals, against a really good Bengals defense. It's a Bengals defense that doesn't excel in any one thing, but it does everything really well. Like it stops the run just well enough. It really caps the downfield passing game. They tackle well. I don't know what compelled Bills fans. Now, Chiefs fans, I get it. You're playing the Jaguars. No offense to my Jaguars people, but that game shouldn't have been close. Should have been 3-4 touchdown victory for the Chiefs if Mahomes was healthy. But the Bills thing, you got to pump the brakes a little bit there.
Yeah, have you noticed that like no one beats the Bengals ever anymore except for like really random teams? Like the Chiefs haven't beaten the Bengals since like 2020. The Bills were kind of trending in the wrong direction in the Week 17 game that never was. So that was far too early to put a cap on that. Weren't even competitive with the Bengals. But then, they lost to the Browns. Like that was without Jamar Chase. They lost to the Ravens. They lost to a lot of good teams. I didn't realize how good their losses were to the Cowboys that they barely lost in Week 2.
Yeah.
The Steelers, do you remember what happened in Week 1 to the Bengals? There's no way you do, but
no. TJ Watt wreaked havoc.
Oh, that's right. It was the TJ Watt game that they lost in overtime to the Steelers.
Yeah, and really, the Bengals are. They treat the early season kind of like an NBA team. Like,
they do.
We're gonna cruise by the first 6 weeks, and then we'll get serious. By the way, the Browns beating the Bengals was one of the more mind-breaking losses of the season. I include in that the Colts beating the Chiefs, which I still can't believe happened, but it did.
Sorry if I've already said this in the podcast. The Colts had the most iconic 3-game start to the season of any team in history, which was tying the Texans in Week 1, suffering a shutout loss to the Jaguars in Week 2 before we knew the Jaguars were kind of good, and then somehow beating the Chiefs. Like you will never beat that 1-1 start. Just back to the point at hand here. I blame the NFL a little bit too. We've got to respect superstition. And the NFL put fans in the position of having to buy tickets for this game before this game even happened. I'm superstitious. I'm like, I'm not going to buy these tickets now. But then if I don't buy the tickets now, everyone else buys the tickets now. So the NFL didn't respect superstition, Denny, and it put the fans in a really bad position. And look what happened. They bought the tickets, and then the game doesn't even happen. You know why the game didn't happen? It's because you bought the tickets.
That's right. That's the process.
It is the process. You got ahead of yourself. You do not respect superstition.
You got to respect. You can't be a little stitious. You got to be superstitious.
You do have to be super unhealthily stitious. I'm trying to think of any superstitious stuff I still do. I've tried to shed my superstitions. I don't like. I used to be like kind of a shirt wearer. Like I would wear like the same shirt for like every Cardinals playoff game.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, well, I've lost 3 in a row. I don't really know if the shirt's doing anything anymore, but I would still wear it anyway.
Right. Yeah. Have we looked into whether baseball players growing out their beards works?
Well, it does until it doesn't. A very common trope in baseball is to shave your beard, like if you're in a slump or something.
Yeah.
Like Matt Carpenter on the St. Louis Cardinals, he would be doing nothing, and then he would shave his beard and his mustache, and then he would hit 4 home runs and won 3-game series in Wrigley Field. That's kind of how superstition works in baseball.
As an old guy who likes a nicely shaved face, I support that. I think that more players should look into trimming the beard rather than growing out the nastiest beard possible. Which
first off, you don't trim. You only grow until it becomes potentially unlucky. And then you shave the whole thing at once. You don't trim it. You just shave it till you're clean shaven.
Right.
And then you go on a torrid 18-game hitting streak.
Imagine how good Ryan Fitzpatrick would have been if he just shaved.
If he would just shave his beard. We could talk about superstition all day. We could talk about the Bengals all day. We'll talk about the Bengals more on Thursday. Denny, after a short and non-exhaustive search, the Patriots have named Bill O'Brien as their new, yet old, offensive coordinator. Yeah. He arrives after a mixed 2-year stint in Nick Saban finishing school at the University of Alabama. What effect do we think the triumphant return of the man known as Bob to New England might have on Mac Jones's future? They apparently briefly crossed paths at Alabama. Not briefly, I guess maybe. No, yeah, it was very brief. They briefly crossed paths at Alabama.
Right. Mac Jones was preparing for the 2021 draft when O'Brien came to Alabama. They talked about the offensive system there. Mac Jones is reportedly very happy, very excited about Bill O'Brien coming in and coaching this offense that was coached, of course, last year by Matt Patricia. Didn't work out exactly like
it's not an offensive coach.
It actually worked out exactly like we thought it would. So I guess that
hopefully you can keep your train of thought. I was thinking the other day how insane it is. Not only was Matt Patricia a defensive mind, he was also the defensive mind that did not force a Nick Foles-led offense to punt once during a Super Bowl. That maybe we should look into this a little more.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the Lions under Matt Patricia had the worst defense in the league.
And they had the worst, like, everything in the league.
Yeah, I think that there are some questions to be asked. But, yeah, so this is an improvement. This is an upgrade. Beat reporters believe that there will be a mixture of kind of the Josh McDaniels offense in New England plus some Alabama flavor to it. Apparently, there is overlap in those two systems, and Mac Jones is very familiar and comfortable, obviously with both because he did pretty well. Like he acquitted himself well as a rookie. In the previous system, I have some numbers here if you want to get nerdy with it. He was 20th in completion rate over expected in 2022. That's down from 7th in 2021. Okay, so a huge drop there in accuracy. All of his downfield throwing this season was deeply inefficient. Okay, I'm trying not to bore you guys with too many numbers here, but I'm gonna throw in some here. Everything has to be basically a check down. He completed 38% of his throws of more than 20 yards. That ranks 17th. 8% of his downfield throws were interceptions. That's one of the higher rates in the entire league.
Yikes.
And, so I do think that you're going to have to get back to check down. And not everything needs to be at the line of scrimmage like it was this year. Tons. I think he was close to the league lead over the whole season in passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. Okay. You can get away from that. But Mac Jones is very limited as to what he can do. And I think if Bill O'Brien recognizes that, they can have way more success next year.
Yeah, I mean, Bill O'Brien, I feel like his reputation is always a little mixed, but it was always mixed in that there was genuine positive. Like the 2010 Patriots had like one of the best offenses of the 21st century under Bill O'Brien. I believe I'm not making that up. I'm pretty sure he was the offensive coordinator for that 14-2 2010 Patriots. He was, and that was their big bounce back from their 10-6 2009 post ACL Tom Brady season. So I sort of wonder what we're getting from Bill O'Brien, but also like Nick Saban has kind of become like a true like offensive innovator in college, and that it's not him, but like unlike Bill Belichick, like Nick Saban has like gone all in on embracing new ideas. And college is different. Like you have to have like the spread up tempo offense in college, or you're just dead, even if you're Alabama. But like Bill O'Brien, I'm assuming learned some new tricks at Alabama.
Yes,
from Nick Saban, or is at least forced to just think about things a little differently. Again, Nick Saban's not an offensive mind, et cetera, but he sets the tone, of course. And he forced his team to get modern in college and offense. That's one reason they've been able to perpetuate their dynasty, even though they haven't won a title in like 2 years, which is yikes in Alabama. But so Bill O'Brien, I think, will come in with some new ideas. I also just think, I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny here. It helps that he's an offensive mind and has decades of experience coaching offense and will at least know how to organize an offense. Like the Patriots, it's not like they're overflowing with talent in their skill positions, but they do have like plenty of elements. They had downfield elements. I mean, Devontae Parker was hurt a lot of the year. Nelson Aguilar, Tyquan Thornton, who was given some opportunities to flash. They have some underneath elements, of course, and Jacoby Meyer. Kendrick Bourne should have been way more involved underneath.
I think there was some personality issues there.
There were some personality issues there for sure. Kendrick Bourne is like uncontainable levels of dog, and that's only good for Bill Belichick. Like if you're the quiet type, like if you're like an outspoken dog, no, that's very bad. He wants
to be quiet dog.
He wants dogs that like are out there who are very quiet. And Kendrick Bourne is not like that. But this offense is not overflowing with individual skill talent. But there's more than enough there, I feel like, to design a coherent offense.
Yeah,
way better than we saw in 2022. And while it's just like frustrating to see Bill Belichick like once again hire like someone who #knows the system. He knows the system pretty well, and he's coming from a place where I have to assume Bill O'Brien learned a thing or two.
Yeah, well, I have a quote to that effect from MassLive.com, which had the piece on Mac Jones being pleased with the O'Brien hire. Here's what Bill O'Brien said recently about his time at Alabama as offensive coordinator. So he said, he's talking about the challenges of coming back to the pros. He said, that was the most challenging thing because I had been involved with an offense for 10 to 15 years, whatever it was, a similar offense. But when you come here, you're running Alabama's offense. You're not bringing your offense in here. And it's a great offense with a great history. And it was really awesome to learn it and very challenging. So I think that says that Bill O'Brien had learned some new tricks, which could be good for Mac Jones in the New England offense.
And circling back on Bill O'Brien, he was not the offensive coordinator in 2010 when they scored 518 points, but he was the offensive coordinator in 2011 when they scored 513 points. And the Patriots in 2012 scored 557 points. My goodness. They just rampaged those 3 years after Tom Brady actually got his ACL healthy.
Seems like a lot of points.
So it's a frustrating hire in some respects where he didn't at all think outside the box. But if he was going to stay inside the box, this was probably the best case outcome.
Right. And I do think, like I said, I think Mac Jones is very limited as to what he can do. Like they're not going to be able to get anything out of him that we have not seen already. That's at least my belief after looking at some of these numbers from his first two seasons. I think a return to his rookie year is probably in the cards, something along those lines, and that would be fine. That would be
fine, but they do need more than that.
But right, and so I don't think that Mac Jones is a long-term solution here. I know that there was a little chatter about. I know Peter King mentioned the Patriots as a possible destination for Aaron Rodgers. I know we'll get into that for a second, but I guess that would shock me because it doesn't seem like a Belichickian move, but it would also not surprise me a whole lot because Mac Jones is not the guy, I don't think.
So far, Mac Jones has basically been Derek Carr with more tripping. I feel like way more tripping.
The guy loves to trip.
He loves a good trip. It's kind of a signature move. I feel like He needs a better signature move as a quarterback than tripping.
Right. Yeah, you would think that it wouldn't even be a top 3 move. It's his only move.
I mean, Tom Brady, it's only his 8th or 9th signature move is tripping people.
Right. No, they must teach it.
I think they actually probably do.
Quarterbacks like you. This is how you slide tackle a guy.
I've had so many disgraceful slide tackle attempts from Mac Jones and Tom Brady. That could have been his last game, and one of those last acts of the quarterbacks is coming into the vicious slide.
Just feebly. Just like an old man falling down and trying to kick someone.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones, getting back to Mac Jones for a second, he's limited in all this stuff. He's also the dirtiest player in the NFL.
He really is. It's weird. He's got Grayson Allen levels of dirtiness. And like if you come at the rim and Grayson Allen, Mac Jones is there, or he's coming up behind you, just get ready for the flagrant 2. And they might only call it a flagrant 1. Get ready for the flagrant.
And you know what's so aggravating about guys who are so good at executing dirty plays is that they never put themselves in position to get hit in a way that the other team would love to hit them, right?
Yeah, no.
Like they're very careful. Like Grayson Allen's very careful about not charging into the lane with the 3 biggest guys on the other team waiting for him. Mac Jones on an interception and a return, he's running for his life. I mean, he's no. I know you want to punish me. I'm not letting you do it.
Yeah, Grayson Allen would no longer have teeth if he did that. Bill O'Brien, you got to add something. You got to add something else to the repertoire other than tripping for Mac Jones. You mentioned Peter King. NBC's Peter King reports the Packers would want, quote, at least 2 first-round picks in a trade for Aaron Rodgers. Denny, is that really a justifiable or even attainable price point at this point? Because Aaron Rodgers entered his irreversible decline phase. Just give us a little bit further breakdown of that report from Peter King. There was a lot of nuggets in there. It's kind of your thoughts on where Aaron Rodgers is at this point in his career.
I mean, Adam Schefter said last week that Rodgers leaving Green Bay is likely.
Seems like the skids are being greased for that. I mean,
and
Aaron Rodgers, is really subtle, but his last game at Lambeau Field, he gave a few little nods to it. It was not subtle at all. He basically, was like walking around the field, like overtly telegraphing to everyone in the stadium, "This is my last game here."
Right. I mean, he looked like Cal Ripken circling.
He really did
yards after his last game. So
it was the first time I'd ever seen him happy after a loss too. Which
I know. Yeah, he was like, "I'm finally out of here, man."
I know. It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, first, I would say, Aaron, in your advanced age, you might want to go somewhere warm. I mean,
go to a dome,
please.
Why does everyone always go to Denver? Peyton Manning pioneered the worst trend in history.
Yeah.
Being like 37. Like, I'm going to go to Denver.
Everybody should retire to the Dolphins. That's what should happen.
And you can retire to Denver, but you retire to like a McMansion cabin. You don't retire to playing outdoor football.
No, right. Yeah. Unless the Broncos finally do the right thing and build a dome.
No,
but,
just get out of here.
Anyway. Yeah, no, I think that this is a possibility with the Jets because Aaron Rodgers would be such an enormous upgrade.
It's a shame, but
over what they have now. And
they would have been Super Bowl contenders with Aaron Rodgers this year.
Yes, they have a really good core of players. They have a lot of defensive talent. Okay, even their special teams is good. They have Garrett Wilson, who's an emerging alpha. They have Elijah Moore, who's underutilized, but we know what he can do with proper usage. And I think that he could get back there. Breece Hall. Michael Carter, I know you don't like Michael Carter, but I'm going to throw him in there.
Yeah, he's bad. It's a shame he's bad.
But I mean, they have a lot of talent. Maybe a little bit of an upgraded offensive line would be in order to keep Rodgers, upright. But they don't have a viable starter. Mike White's not a viable starter. No. Zach Wilson. So the question becomes: are the Jets going to waste another season on Zach Wilson,
or they're not?
Are they going to pull the plug? I think you have to pull the plug.
They're going to pull the plug for sure, I think. I mean, they're having it both ways, the classic way where they're like, oh, no, we're committed to Zach Wilson. And the next question was, are any other quarterbacks going to come in? They're like, well, I mean, yeah, but believe it, we're committed to Zach Wilson, though.
Yep.
Where they're doing the classic talking out of both sides of their mouth.
Yeah. We're totally committed to Zach Wilson, and we're going to bring in his replacement.
Yeah, exactly. So that is
messaging.
The Jets probably. You're going to talk about some other teams now, but I would say the Jets are probably the odds-on favorite for a variety of reasons. Just like, well, unless he doesn't want to go there, which he very strong chance he might not want to.
So I do have some numbers to suggest that Rodgers fell off pretty dramatically, and I don't really know how much to contribute to the loss of Davante Adams, who was basically the entire offense during the previous 3 seasons, really. But just looking at Rodgers' performance, his Pro Football Focus passing grade was the 3rd lowest of his career in 2022. His adjusted yards per attempt was the 2nd lowest of his career, and his touchdown rate was the 4th lowest of his career. Even just last year with Davante Adams, in 2021, Rodgers was 2nd in completion rate over expected. That fell all the way to 16th, right in the middle of the league in 2022. Wow. His metrics that he's excelled in for a long time, and I know this like adjusted EPA per play, like he's an EPA machine, right? Fell off, dramatically in 2022, all the way to 21st around the, and I hate to say this, Pat, but it's around the Andy Dalton region of EPA.
Yeah, that's a libel lawsuit waiting to happen. He's a very litigious person too.
I am only reporting the numbers. Okay, this is no editorializing on my part.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is willing to take that one to court too. He won't settle.
Well, I'm scared.
He will not settle that lawsuit. It's going all the way. So you better be prepared to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Hopefully you can find some really nice pro bono representation.
Oh, I'm sure I can.
Willing to lose 6-3 your case before the Supreme Court. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, last year is weird because the variable was so huge. I mean, the aging variable is probably still the biggest variable. I mean, the other variable, not only were they losing Davante Adams, they were then just going to like whole scale new young faces and like people who just like didn't like Aaron Rodgers. I think sometimes embarrassed them more than they needed to be. Shocker, it's Aaron Rodgers. But I mean, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs just for a while didn't appear to have any idea how to play a receiver in the NFL. Like that will very much hurt your EPA numbers.
Right.
And like your best and like too many games where Allen Lazard, who's really a number 3 or a number 4, was the number 1. That's going to hurt your EPA. So it's, I don't know if aging cliff exists. I don't know if you go from back-to-back MVP. I guess it has happened. It kind of happened with Peyton Manning. Kind of happened with Brett Favre. Going from MVP form to like the Dalton zone. But I still thought physically it looked like he had plenty left in the tank.
Me too.
With the strong exception of he was getting hurt like more than ever. He was playing through like a million injuries, which only increases as you get older. But I would be willing to gamble on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if I'm willing to gamble 2 first-round picks, though.
That's a lot. For
a guy who's year to year at this point, I think you need to talk him down to like a 1st and a 3rd or something. That's like a lot more reasonable. And I don't think anyone would trade 2 first-round picks. I mean, they did for Stafford, but he was like, 33?
Yeah, no. I mean, Rodgers is way up there.
Yeah, he's almost 40 years old.
And yeah, and I mean, I would think that a team could point to 2022 and say, hey, like, we're not giving you 2 first-round picks for that. So
yeah, he does have a veto power. Yeah. Peter King mentions, like you said, the Patriots. He mentions the Raiders. He mentions the Seahawks, which would be a pretty interesting one. I don't know if the worldview of Pete Carroll and Aaron Rodgers would be aligned enough. They both kind of believe in conspiracy theories. I mean, Pete Carroll, it's only one conspiracy theory with Pete Carroll that we know of. We don't need to mention it on air. Aaron Rodgers believes many more of them, it seems like.
But yeah, and he always
fundamentally they are very
talk about it.
Yeah, they're very different. I don't know if Rodgers too. I don't think at this point he's not going to go sign up for the Belichick thing. Like,
that sounds awful. That sounds like a marriage made in hell.
This guy has gotten used to going on like Joe Rogan. He's not going to go like, guess what? You can't tweet now. Yeah, he's like, what? I won like 9 MVPs on 40. I'm going to tweet. Like, no, you can't tweet.
No, right.
So I doubt he's doing the Patriots thing. And the Raiders thing is, of course, going to be Tom Brady, and it's going to be a massive, massive failure. So that leaves the Jets. We'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens with the show when we return right after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen on the PGA Tour, as well as in college basketball and the NFL playoffs. That includes a shot at $100,000 on Conference Championship Sunday if you enter our Sunday Night 7 contest. Denny, we'll change gears a little bit. We're going to get back in like the click zone soon, mentioning big names. This guy's a big name in fantasy, though. You told me it's time to have the conversation, the one that every parent's dread.
Yeah.
Where you explain to your children that Gabe Davis is bad. Denny, you have come to the conclusion that Gabe Davis is bad, I take it. What do you want to tell us about this?
Listen, I am pro Gabe Davis as a player, and I take no pleasure in saying this, but after an exhaustive search through his peripheral stats and not so peripheral stats from 2022, it is apparent that Gabe Davis is not good.
I swear it was the ankle. I swear.
I tried with the ankle thing, but there's really no indication that the ankle lasted into this December and January, and the performance stayed the same. So if I can amuse you with some numbers real quick. So Gabe Davis in one of the most potent passing attacks in the league, 46th in yards per route run among wide receivers, around the Corey Davis zone.
How bad is it that that sounded high to me? I was worried it was gonna be like a lot lower.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not AJ Green quite, but it's far down. But I also do think that we need to remember what kind of offense he's in. Like, he's not in a bad offense. He's in a really good offense, a really efficient offense. He ran the 5th most pass routes among all wide receivers this year, basically like as close to a 100% route rate as you can get, not just for an elite guy, for anyone. Okay. So he had that going for him, which was nice. And we kind of projected that and said, well, if that happens, then he's going to go off or at least be fine. He wasn't. He was targeted on less than 16% of his pass routes. That is just horribly low. That's in like, I'm just trying to give some context here. That's in the Diami Brown, Chase Claypool range. He's out there running wind sprints. He's running wind sprints as the wide receiver 2 for the Buffalo Bills. So I was wrong. I was drafting him everywhere, and I think too. 3rd or 4th round of leagues, and I felt pretty good about it. I knew that the price was a little high, but I said, I don't care. I believe that with a full route rate, he will be able to produce, and I was dead wrong. And I think that we need to move on from him with the thought that he's going to be a wide receiver 2 in fantasy.
Yeah, he should probably be more of a wide receiver 3 or 4 for the Bills, which we saw manifest itself. I mean, not just in his statistics, but in their offensive performance. I mean, too often down the stretch, they just had no plan B after Josh Allen either doing something crazy or throwing to Stephon Diggs, like to the point where they're involving like young role players like Khalil Shakir, trying to get Isaiah McKenzie involved. I mean, guys off the street like John Brown and Cole Beasley, just very, 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 very bad. Very, very bad. And it's all because the number 2 receiver didn't pan out. And, there were people, very smart people in the summer who were truthing Gabe Davis. And I was willing to entertain the possibility that maybe he was like a poor man's Mike Williams. Like, I just still thought that would be amazing in fantasy. And we had already seen the demonstrated upside of what a poor man's Mike Williams could do in this Bills offense. I do think I don't think the ankle was physically affecting him by the end of the season. I do think that it totally derailed his momentum. And it was maybe one of the reasons the Bills offense never got into full rhythm, just because from the literal first game of the season, their number 2 receiver was just like not healthy. And then that like has cascading effects. I mean, and then he got healthy.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There are other problems left in its wake.
I know this is a little bit of hindsight analysis, but what are we going to do in January? Gabe Davis coming into the season was appealing for several reasons, but if you wanted to look at it numbers wise, yards per route run is a very sticky stat. Okay. It really tells you which guys are efficient and which guys are not. For instance, Tyreek Hill had a very solid yards per route run with Alex Smith, not just with Patrick Mahomes. So this said to me and to others that Tyreek Hill could still succeed outside of outside of Mahomes. He could do it with Tua, and he did. Well, Gabe Davis was right behind Tyreek Hill in 2021 in yards per route run, and he was 13th overall, 13th among all receivers that season, and that was a very like truncated usage, like kind of a specialist almost in the way he was used in the Bills offense. So the key was projecting him for a full workload. He got it. It didn't work. And I can't say that it was all the ankle, although it didn't help.
No, it was the ankle was definitely excuse making by me. And with Gabe, I was just most compelled by every time he got a chance, he went nuts. Like he forced his way onto the field as a 4th round rookie.
Yeah.
Like he forced them to finally stop using Emmanuel Sanders. And then he was amazing in Emmanuel Sanders' place. So I was just like, this guy is just crying out for a bigger role, but maybe it just turns out he's best utilized as a role player.
And, I think so.
It's quite sad.
I mean, I should say we should watch for like Gabe Davis is having off-season ankle surgery. Like he was playing with a torn up ankle the whole season.
Playing with a hernia the whole year.
Yeah, that does change the calculus a little bit. So we'll watch for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Gabe Davis, it'd be the classic, oh, yeah, he had a sports hernia the whole season.
Yeah, right.
That kind of stuff happens all the time in the NFL. So, yeah, that's what it was. Clearly, he just had an unknown injury that they never announced, and that's why he was bad. It's really pretty simple. He's still amazing. So, yeah, no, Gabe, hopefully you at least get healthy heading into 2023. Denny, so far the Ravens are interviewing Rams quarterbacks coach / passing game coordinator, Zach Robinson, Seahawks quarterbacks coach Dave Canales. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm sorry, Dave.
Maybe no.
Dave, you know you're my guy though. Even though I have no idea how to say your name. Browns wide receiver coach Chad O'Shea and their own quarterbacks coach James Urban for their offensive coordinator vacancy. Denny, I'm sure a lot of Ravens fans would just be thrilled to hear if they went with continuity from the Greg Roman system with James Urban.
Right.
So, yeah, what kind of hires should the Ravens be prioritizing as they look to get Lamar Jackson back on track after a season that's kind of didn't live up to expectations because of personnel issues and injury issues?
This offense has not been all that efficient since the unbelievably efficient 2019 with Greg Roman coaching Lamar Jackson for his first full season as starter. And I think that they've reached, and they probably did a while ago, they've reached the limit to how far this sort of offense can go. And by this sort of offense, I mean one that invests nothing in wide receivers, that runs the ball a lot, that uses Lamar Jackson as a rusher a lot, right? Like this is a playoff formula, I think, if Lamar stays healthy. Obviously, I guess it can be even if he doesn't, but I don't think it's a championship formula. And I think that the Ravens may realize this. I mean, John Harbaugh's a very, very bright, very sharp guy. I don't think that he's going to keep slamming his head against the wall year after year after year with the same system failing in the same ways as it did this season, even when Lamar was healthy. So I think what we're going to see is hopefully, a coach come in, a quarterback centric coach. They are, like you said, interviewing their own quarterbacks coach for this role to make this maybe something more of a traditional NFL offense. And Lamar Jackson on Twitter, I think last week, signaled that he's very much ready and willing to do the traditional quarterback thing. And I think that's what it will take for him and the Ravens to take that next step.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing happened with Greg Roman in San Francisco with Jim Harbaugh, where the offense came out like people couldn't stop it for like a year or two, and it just got very, very predictable. And again, people started blaming on the quarterback and Colin Kaepernick, but I mean, same thing happened in Buffalo with Greg Roman, where he was for 2 years. Like, it's a system that does work well because I mean, it's just the kind of system modern NFL defenses aren't used to defensing. So it's like take people by surprise, but only to a point. We saw even in the 2019 playoffs, then the Titans figured it out. And yeah, shocker, you can only go so far if you have no wide receivers.
Right.
And they went shockingly far. I mean, they almost beat the Bengals in the wild card round, despite having 0 receivers and on their backup quarterback. How that happened. So there's like a high floor to this offense. It was the same deal in San Francisco. Like they always remain more productive than they should have, but they've got to let Lamar loose.
So I think back to that Titans playoff loss that the Ravens had. I want to say after the 2020 season, perhaps. And they were favorites the Titans got up early, and the Ravens just had no mechanism for coming back, and that wasn't a new thing. Like,
that was 2019. They lost the playoff. No, they won a playoff game in 2020. I don't know why I'm litigating this now.
Anyway, they lost to Tennessee in a way that was very predictable.
That was in 2019. That was when they were in the number 1 seed,
right,
and they lost in the divisional round.
Yeah.
Oh, then the next year they beat the Titans 20-13. Then they got kind of like pythoned by the Bills in the divisional round.
So, I think that they do need to find, hire someone who is willing to move on from the Roman model, which was stale, a little bit predictable, and like you said, has a nice floor, but almost no ceiling.
I wish I knew more about history so I could be like, yeah, you know who else wanted to move on from the Roman model was so-and-so in the year 300. Am I right? The Vandals.
The Conqueror.
No, I'm just going to say the Vandals. I can't remember who the Vandals are supposed to be in history. They were.
I do wish that I was more prepared for that.
The Vandals were a Germanic people who first inhabited what is now southern Poland. Yeah, I don't think they were under the yoke of the Romans. No, they were. Man, everyone's under the yoke of the Romans. Well, tell you who wanted to move on from the Roman system, Denny, was the Vandals.
Dang, the folks know what we're talking about.
Yeah, they do. Real closing thought on this with Lamar Jackson and like receivers and Greg Roman. There's a Robert Griffin III who works for ESPN. He occasionally is a takesman and has some bad takes, but he has some good takes too. And he played for Greg Roman and the Ravens for several seasons, and he was adamant that like the receiver stuff, the lack of passing game stuff, like isn't Lamar, that it was Greg Roman, and it's just the system. And he said receivers didn't want to play in the system, and it had nothing to do with Lamar Jackson, and it was Greg Roman, because they know that like Isaiah Likely and like Nick Boyle will get fed as number 2 tight ends, but like the receivers just won't be involved. And RG3 is pretty adamant that they got to get away from the Roman system.
Yeah,
just like the Vandals did.
Just like the Vandals
1800 years ago. Yeah. So
but I do want to say just quickly, if they don't get away from this Roman system, we got to stop talking about Ravens wide receivers.
It's true. Yeah, there's no point in even no more Devin Duvernay.
Just don't do that.
Yeah, we just leave them out of the draft guide entirely. Do not rank any Ravens. We have a very tense phone call where like Kyle and Crane are like, well, we still need to rank them. Like, still need to project them, right? I'm like, no,
absolutely not. We're projecting Bateman for 0 catches.
Yeah. Those names, they don't even go in this magazine, all right? And you can resign if you feel that strongly about it. And then they do. And we have to do all the work.
But it was worth it. It would be worth it.
It was worth it. It'd be worth it to prove that point.
Prove it.
We'll be right back after this. Download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. Denny, we end the show, apparently. I wish I had another topic after this one. But we end the show.
We're going to make this one last.
I'm sure we probably will, actually. Talking about the man known as T-Law to the Zoomers out there, Trevor Lawrence. He helped guide the Jaguars to the divisional round, but was highly uneven along the way, if we're being honest. That includes in the wildcard round where he threw 4 first-half interceptions, including one on the very first throw of the game. Although Trevor Lawrence has inarguably gotten his career back on the right track and is clearly going to be like an above-average NFL quarterback, one who signs a second contract with the Jaguars. Just like how back on the right track are we talking? What do the numbers say about Trevor Lawrence and his very impressive second-year progress?
7th in completion rate over expected this season, which, is a big improvement over his rookie campaign. I think that the inconsistencies stemmed primarily from Doug Peterson's kind of wishy-washy commitment to the pass. I'm not questioning Doug Peterson because Lord knows he watches the tape. Okay. Like he gets it. And I've never watched a game, but I will say that there were spans during the season. We talked about it on the show several times, like where the Jags were clearly dead set on establishing it, running in situations where it was clear they could have and should have passed. And when Lawrence was let off his leash a little bit, I mean, he went ballistic a few times.
He did go genuinely nuts a few games.
I understand that he also had, some hiccups along the way, made some curious throws. I know that he, that the injury he had, I think maybe affected him a little bit. That I guess it ended up being a toe injury, even though it did not look like a toe injury.
Yeah, well, and they kept listening. It was questionable even like 7 weeks after the fact. Like, I'm pretty sure he's going to play in the divisional round, guys.
Right. So I don't think that helped. But I think that there was enough shown this year to say, okay, like he's a long-term solution. I still don't know if anyone can say he's absolutely an elite long-term solution.
Yeah, it was just weird because there were a few times where he's like made like pretty bad throw. I mean, every quarterback makes bad throws, but he missed a few like throws. I mean, infamously that one touchdown pass against who did they even play in the wild card round? The Chargers.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh, wow, that's one of the worst throws I've seen from a quarterback all season." And he did have some brain melters like that one. It's that you don't usually see elite quarterbacks ever make, but yeah, oh man, you look at the stats and you look at the film, it's like, yeah, he's pretty great season. Like, kind of no matter how you slice it.
But and if you want to know, like from a film perspective, how he was, a Pro Football Focus this year graded him as the 14th best, with the 14th best passing grade. That sounds about right. It was way up from 33rd in his rookie season. So that that's significant. From a fantasy perspective, I think that his mobility is something to latch on to. I think going into next year, he should be drafted as a starter in 12-team leagues. But I would love to see Jacksonville commit to like a pass first.
They need to
system with him as the centerpiece. I think the time for hiding him and like making things easier for Trevor Lawrence, I think that's over. And I hope we see more of him being able to cook in 2023.
Yeah, it's the obvious next step, and it's always like the final step for like a true franchise quarterback when you allow them to cook. Very few guys actually get there, but he looks like someone who deserves the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing for the Jags, I don't understand why Travis Etienne is not involved in the passing offense.
No, it makes absolutely no sense. Why he was it was Urban Meyer, but that's why he was drafted, was to be part of the passing attack.
Urban Meyer was like, yeah, he's a pass catcher. I guess he'll also play some running back.
Yeah.
Or was it the other way? Was it the other way around? I forget whatever he said.
No, it was that they were going to basically use him as a receiver. It was after he was sad that they didn't get Kadarius Toney. So hey, by the way, Herb vindicated on that one.
Yeah, right. Well,
he looks amazing on the 18 routes he's allowed to run per game.
One thing I know for sure is that Kadarius Toney would not have clashed at all with Herb.
No, they would have been a great personality fit together.
They would have fit really well.
So Trevor Lawrence, I'll just ask you a few either ors like we do during the season with the rankings. For the next, I'm gonna vary the year outlook. For the next 3 years, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Lamar Jackson?
Lamar.
Yeah, I think it's still pretty clearly Lamar.
Yeah.
Even though, for the next 10, I guess maybe I'd rather have. Well, he's a lot younger than Lamar Jackson, so that kind of settles that one.
Is he? Well, I'm looking at Lamar's age.
He's like 2 or 3 years younger, which is a lot in quarterback years.
Okay, so he just turned 26, Lamar Jackson.
Wow, it's still pretty young. But yeah, the next 3 years, I would still rather have Lamar Jackson
than
Trevor Lawrence, just because we've seen higher upside already demonstrated, and it seems like there's a few minor tweaks they could do to get Lamar back to his MVP form. Next, let's say next 2 years, Trevor Lawrence or Dak Prescott, Dakota Prescott.
Lawrence.
I think I'm still going Dak, but the problem is I just wish the Cowboys would have different leadership, and they're not going to. I really think Dak is better than this, and
well, I think
he makes some bad decisions, but I just think that he seems like a very, very like savvy quarterback to me, which is why I was kind of so surprised because he just seems like the kind of quarterback that doesn't make those kind of mistakes, but then he just kept making them the final few games of the season.
I do think that the expectations for Dak are just outrageously high, and that's because he's the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. You know, he's not like his background would not suggest an elite quarterback. Okay, like his draft, where he was drafted, his peripheral numbers over the years, like that. He's not going to be Mahomes ever, not even close, right? No. I think he's more like Derek Carr than Mahomes.
I think he's better than that. I will also say, getting back to like injury excuse land, he just has not quite been the same since his 2020 leg injury, which kind of cascaded into a few other lower body issues. Like his stats are really good last year in 2021, of course. But I feel like he hasn't quite been the same, I think, since that leg injury.
He was lighting the league on fire before that leg injury.
Yeah, man, was he ever? Yeah, man, that was a real shame.
That was one of the more exciting month of quarterback play that I've ever seen. I mean, he was. I mean, on the ground, through the air, just roasting defenses in every way.
It was because they had no defense, of course. The Dallas Cowboys.
I enjoyed when the Cowboys were bad on defense.
For 2023 only, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Kirk Cousins?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, while I'm on the record as saying Kirk Cousins has zero dog in him. And Lawrence has a good amount of
Lawrence has dog in him, actually.
Not crazy dog, but enough.
He's got enough dog. Yeah, he really does.
Okay. I'll lean just slightly. I'll lean Lawrence.
I think I'll lean Lawrence too for 22. I'm ready to move. Kirk Cousins, in addition to dog, just no dog has no ceiling. Like how many times are we gonna see him like hit up against this ceiling? Like he doesn't have a career ceiling.
He doesn't. No, well, his ceiling is the money he gets paid, salary.
It's true.
That he's hit that ceiling.
His ceiling is, of course, yes, financial fraud.
You gotta respect it. Honestly,
for the next 10 years, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert?
Herbert.
Yeah, I'll still go Herbert. Although I do think this could be an area where dog is the differentiating factor. Where I think Trevor Lawrence has much higher dog.
Really?
Justin Herbert, I do. Justin Herbert's very tough. He's very, very, very tough.
I think Herbert's a dog.
I don't know if he's tough. I don't know if he's a dog though. Like Trevor Lawrence is he's angry. He's like the kind of guy where he's like clearly angry when he's losing. And like he's like always like doing crazy stuff on the field. He's like trying to make too many plays. Whereas like Justin Herbert doesn't try to make enough plays, I feel
really?
Like.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I disagree there. Herbert has,
I'd rather have Herbert, by the way, too. The physical skills are just too awe-inspiring.
He's generational talent.
He's generational physically, yeah.
Yes, he's like a robot. He's a quarterback you would build in the lab. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess Lawrence is too. But the one thing I do question with Lawrence, and I have for a couple years now, is the arm strength. I don't see a guy who can, just zip a ball into double coverage, who can like really rip one downfield down the sideline. I think that there are real questions about his arm strength, and there's no question about Justin Herbert's.
Yeah, Lawrence doesn't have like a top quartile arm, but I say he'll always be like a top like 11 or 12 arm, which I think is good enough.
Yeah, sure. I'll go with that.
This last one's way too easy. I was just saying the next 3 years of Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, but I guess we probably have to give it to Lawrence, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's actually probably not open and shut.
I love Justin Fields in a with a decent offensive line and okay pass catchers. So I actually don't even know if you can make the comparison because Fields is surrounded by such a terrible team.
Yeah, that is not enough information. Kyler Murray or Trevor Lawrence for the next 3 years?
Lawrence.
I think Kyler is still.
Kyler's too short.
Come on. I think Kyler is still. I love Kyler's physical skills so much, and he's got dog levels. It's kind of like the wrong kind of dog levels, where he's just very angry.
It's not the vibes are not good with Kyler.
Not good vibes, but I mean his physical like traits are still just so unbelievable, and his competitiveness is just so unbelievable. But now he's got the ACL, so maybe he'll never be the same. But
yeah, no, that is, yes, that's actually what I was thinking too. Is
I would still rather take Kyler Murray, and this could sound as one of those things.
Wait a second, for a mobile quarterback to have a catastrophic knee injury, and this was not just a regular old run-of-the-mill ACL. This was more serious than that. So he's supposed to come back and do all that crazy running around that he does with a busted knee. No.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that'd be really hard. I guess
he's gonna need to grow at least 4 inches.
Oh, man. Producer Adam, by the way, says Kyler's problem is misplaced dog levels.
Okay. He's barking at the wrong stuff, Adam.
Yeah, he's like his coaches and teammates.
He does a lot of barking. It's true.
Which, I mean, you can do it. It wears thin even when it's Tom Brady. Like this year, people are kind of like, all right, man. Like maybe you can stop sucking next.
Right.
So like, yeah.
I only saw Tom Brady doing 2 things this season. Screaming at his teammates or sitting alone on the bench.
He was alone on the bench a lot.
And that to me is not good. I would like to see my quarterback occasionally exchange a nice word with his teammates.
It's weird because he has clearly like genuinely mellowed off the field, I would say. I don't think it's like all an act, like what he's doing on Twitter. Like I think he's definitely mellowed a bit off the field.
Stop! No,
I'm serious.
It's all an act. You're following.
He's not that good of an actor. None of these guys are that good of an actor. He's a football robot.
But they have teams of people who are micromanaging their every facial movement. Okay, like.
And his team was like, "Where's my dog, SBF? Oh, he's going to jail."
What can you do? He's going to jail with all my money.
Yeah, I know. That's why Tom Brady is happy to announce he's signing a 5-year contract with the Las Vegas Raiders.
He signed through his age 57 season with the Raiders.
Tom Brady did preemptively sign a 10-year contract with Fox. I think he had to shore up the SBF money.
And Fox paid him all in crypto, so that's going to be tough for him.
By the way, SBF's innocent until proven guilty. We must say, don't sue us,
please,
please don't, and please stop listening to the show because it's over. And we'll keep the news updated all week. Denny's going to be previewing the conference championship round like he has the first 2 rounds. A must-read article. We'll be previewing the show in podcast form on Thursday with myself, Kyle Dvorchak, Denny, and our special guest, Rich Rebar. Thank you so much for listening. For Denny, I'm Pat. We will be back later.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.